Okay, since I teach online courses and I often use Screencast-O-Matic, and because at our last Bug and Ear workshop with teacher candidates, all of them got on camera to reflect, or a lot of them got on camera to reflect, I wanted to reflect on the Bug and Ear experience, but do it by student. And since I didn't want to be on film, I thought reflecting, you know, using a screencast, looking at their data briefly, would be the best thing to do. So the first student I'm going to reflect on is Stephanie McAlwee. I moved her folder to the top because she's the first one I've been doing or working on. Um, the materials I have on each teacher candidate are slightly different, but fairly similar overall. In Stephanie's first folder, I have her first interview, her answers or responses. I found this really, really challenging to do because I had about 10 minutes with each teacher candidate, but to fully do the interview, because all of them were so detailed in the responses, I felt like I really needed a half hour. So I feel like if we did this again, that the interviews really needed more time, maybe to be done over the phone or scheduled as a separate meeting. The other thing I put in that folder is, and I did this for my other teacher candidates who had emails with tech issues, I put my tech issue emails in there. And then I'm also going to put this overview reflection in there to start us off. But that's what's in that first folder. With these three folders, just like you asked, I'm putting my observation reports in there, and I've done that for Stephanie already. One thing to know about my observation reports is the last one for each candidate is usually handwritten because that's the day of their final meeting, usually of their last observation. So I handwrite the observation so they can sign off on it. So I apologize in advance for my bad handwriting on the last final observation. And that's for each teacher candidate, not just Stephanie. In terms of Stephanie's e-coaching goals, she was one who she had a different teaching position last year. So she was super nervous about her ability to teach reading because it's not something she did as intensively last year. Her position this year was doing a lot of pull out, small group reading instruction. So initially she wanted some feedback on that to make sure she was using evidence-based practices, implementing the programs that she had to with Fidelity. But we quickly figured out that she was really faithful to the programs. So she did some great things like she would follow the script to a T, and then wherever she left off, she would pick up during the next session. And she did it a couple times, both in person and on, when I observed her digitally. So then we changed her goal because we realized that one thing she should be working on was giving positive, specific feedback. She was giving positive feedback, but she was using a catch-all term every time. So it wasn't meaningless. It was very positive because she's a very positive person. But we realized that she needed to be specific about what she was complimenting, what she was praising, what she was trying to get the students to, what skills she was trying to get them to do successfully over and over again. So that's something to know about Stephanie in terms of her goals. So one of her goals changed completely because we kind of de-emphasized, implementation and how she implemented the reading program. And the other goal she was working on had to do more with behavior. She was worried she wasn't engaging the students, but she actually was very engaging. She had good rapport with the students. You could tell she cared about them. The main thing is she had some distractible students, and they, with their behaviors, would often, not on purpose all the time, but would distract other students who were really engaged in the lesson by just, lots of movement, lots of comments. So it became more of trying to keep the students on task better rather than worrying about her engagement because she was actually a very engaging teacher. To talk about the process, Stephanie and I had some bumps in the road at first. I didn't include for my folks any of their kind of trial sessions. I only included their 5 instructional sessions, except for one student that only had 3, but all my other ones had 5. Stephanie, I was really happy with hers because she had 5 really, I think, robust sessions where I was able to observe for quite some time, 20 to 30 minutes. Our first bumps in the road in terms of, getting Bug and Ears started, where that was Stephanie. She could not get the Mac to work at her site. She had the tech person helping her, she had the assistant principal, but she could not get that MacBook to work at her site. So she quickly switched over and was able to get the Skype to work through her work computer. Our next big hurdle with her was she was trying to get the Bluetooth to pair to her work computer. And it said it was pairing, and then she seemed to pair with everything, even a pedometer, rather than the actual Bluetooth. So we got one of the little devices from Holly to help with that process, to help it pair. But that didn't seem to help either. So our next tech fix was that we had Stephanie use a headset, because only during one period really, or maybe two in the whole day, and they were very short, was she actually co-teaching or supporting in the gen ed classroom. Most of her day was spent sitting at a horseshoe table doing small group and pull-out instruction. So for her, a really easy fix, since it was the majority of her workday, was having her wear a headset. And it was kind of really neat because her sessions were unlike anybody else's. It was very conversational. I got to know her students very well. She could talk to me through the headset, and the students just, were very accepting of it. They often asked her to mention questions to me. I think hers were some of the best sessions. I mean, I had several that had really good sessions, I felt, but hers were really kind of seamless because it was easy at the end of the session. She always had a few minutes between her changeover of students to discuss in depth for several minutes what had gone on in the session, what was great, what she could be working on. And she was really, really responsive to feedback. I noticed that if we talked about something, she worked on it and it was almost non-existent in next sessions. Or I mean, if it was something she was trying to, do away with, or like when she was trying to go from saying good job all the time to giving positive praise, she did a complete turnaround. The only thing I noticed is when she was under stress in some of our later sessions, she would, when she was under stress, revert back to some of her previous behaviors in terms of praise. And we noticed that a few other times when she was under stress because of things happening at the school, because she had been sick, that is when she would revert back to previous, teaching behaviors, other than when she was, working on. The other thing to know about Stephanie's sessions are that I don't have handwritten notes for her because we were able to debrief pretty extensively at the end of each session. So what you hear and what you see at the end of the videos are our debriefs, okay? So we didn't keep a lot of notes. I kind of felt like we were trying to keep this as current and, I don't know, cutting edge in terms of giving feedback rather than giving written feedback to do it, via the videos. So I think that's all to talk about her, because you can see the videos. And I really would love, especially with her, but with any of them, to get feedback on how I worked and how I supported the teacher candidate. I feel like I tended to be positive because that's in my nature. I did give some constructive feedback, but I did it very, very guardedly. So I'd love any feedback if I ever do this again. All right,